Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us. We continue the conversation that you're having in studio this morning as we look at the state of counties. And before we went on break, we were just dissecting on the going-ons across the counties, touched on the parallel, running of the county assembly in Nyamira County. Of course, a matter that has also taken the path of the corridors of justice. And in Machakos County also yesterday, there was drama that unfolded as the county assembly speaker was forced even to be holed up in her office under police protection. 3 members of the county assembly were injured during a scuffle that ensued at the county assembly yesterday. Of course, it's a story that we are also watching very closely, but these are the pictures and the images that we are not being treated to for the very first time from our counties. We've seen this in other counties and how it all ended. And before we went on break, we were just dissecting on what this means even for the residents and where this interest could be coming from and where they're leading us. And I'd just like us to, continue with this conversation. Osido, before we went on break, I know you had a lot to weigh in on, but even as you do that, devolution is no longer a baby, if you ask me. It's more than a decade. We're almost clocking a decade and a half. Does it concern you that we are still dealing with such issues of how to make it work? We've not even gone beyond even just celebrating this beautiful story, this beautiful dream that was sold to Kenyans more than 10 years ago. We are still dealing with how do we make it work almost 15 years later.
So I think that's really troubling. But I honestly have to indicate that devolution is working, and especially for those who want devolution to work for them. There are corners in this country that really suffered before devolution, and the suffering was largely because of the inability just for the residents and the citizens to get basic things. There are roads that were never there. There are areas in this country that you needed about 2 days. Where I come from in West Uyoma Ward, Rarieda constituency, Siaya County, there is a place we call Amoyo. It used to get extremely flooded. So you come from Bondo and you get to Amoyo and all vehicles turn back. So you have to walk all the way to the edge of the area called Missouri, which is where I come from at the beach. Now, because of just proper good governance, there are roads, the road networks that have opened. We have health facilities that now citizens no longer have to walk 10 kilometers like it used to happen. And I can go on and on and on. Markets that have been opened where farmers now can be able to just, harvest their produce, and within a very short distance or a few days, they send them to the market. However, it is also true to say that devolution is not working because of certain bad manners that we are seeing. And one of the stories that we are talking about is part of the bad manners. The moment you are called an honorable member, and I've been one of these emphatic speakers about the value of an induction session for elected members. Because some of these guys have never seen anything called money, The money that MCAs are earning is a shocker to some of these people here. Some of these people are experienced professionals who have let go of their good, well-paying jobs. And because they want to serve their people, they have thrown their hearts into siasa, and they are now called MCAs and whatever they are called. But therefore, what is the kind of context that devolution is working within? One is full of impunity. The people who attacked a speaker, because the county assembly is a protected area. Should have been arrested, and now we should be showing reasons as to why they attacked, because that is already a case. Attacking someone is a case that I think is an offense that is chargeable by law. But they're still gallivanting around, For speakers who are carrying messes and holding sessions under trees, you should be arrested and asked why you are usurping power and authority. But why are we not seeing this, Serafin? It's because of impunity. There is no single MCA, and he's talking about EACC, other than Babayao, that has a big court case now. We have not seen
anybody
successful, thank you, Mheshimiwa, for passing that interesting message you are looking at. We have not seen members, honorable members, being charged for this kind of ignominious engagements. Theft of public funds is the other reason. Corruption. Why devolution is seemingly seen to be not performing the way it's supposed to be. But even as we talk about corruption in county governments, we also have to go to the national government, where it is also at higher apex, you know, and ask ourselves, have we had successful arrests, successful prosecutions? And are the institutions that are supposed to support devolution really working to support devolution? Because those are some of the very difficult questions. And probably because of the initial conversation we were having, we must audit the Constitution again. For example, Schedule 4, functions of national and county government. What is the cost of healthcare in this country? As national government is usurping responsibilities of healthcare because health is fully devolved as per the Constitution. But how much does it cost to give Kenyans proper healthcare before we can go to SHA or whatever it is? How much is water service delivery in this country? How much will it cost to now say that Kenyans across the board now have proper water for them to be able to drink for how long and for how many years? And Seraphine, we can go on and on and on, even as we talk about the functions and then their costings.
All right. And I'd just like to hear your thoughts also on what we were to discuss on the issue of funding, because I don't know why this has become, Senator Onyonka, a perennial problem. Funding counties. We've even had the governor of Kakamega County there speaking about how they are still demanding, is it 63 billion shillings?
Yes.
That is in arrears. And the other day they had even threatened to shut down counties because of some monies that were supposed to be deducted from their allocations.
True.
And it's not the first time, again, I'll say this on this program, that we have had such a threat from the governors. The delayed disbursement of funds is not the first time this is becoming a story that we are focusing on as a nation. Almost a decade and a half later, Senator Onyonka, what seems to be the problem? Is it that we don't have the money, or we are deliberately thwarting devolution?
We do not follow the law in our country. That is one of the issues that has been quite disheartening to me ever since I joined the Senate. There are certain structures that have been made deliberately dysfunctional for whatever reason and purpose. I'll give you an example. A county government that receives money, there are rules and regulations how you spend that money. There are rules and regulations when you should receive that money. After you have received the money, what do you do with it? If you leave what is happening at the county governments, let's go to the national level. I pity John Bandi, because whatever he talks and says, right now you have a scenario where our country is in debt, we have overborrowed. The other day you saw him say that most likely what he's doing now is to figure out how we are going to pay our debts until 2032 or 35, whatever that period when it's going to be. As a result, once you don't follow this book, because this is a template. It tells us how to operate. When you receive the money, what do you do? After you've received the money, how do you handle it? Which sectors are you supposed to spend the money in? Look at the health sector. My brother is talking about why are we not having a functional health sector? Why are we not having a functional educational sector, whether it's university funding, whether it's secondary school capitation money? It never gets to schools on time. Whether we are spending the money to buy books. Private individuals who are associated in government with the friends in government are the ones who are now printing books for schools. Some of the books have material which nobody wants. Kenya Literature Bureau used to handle that. You ask yourself, why is the Kenya National Printing Press not printing books, which then, that's how it used to be. But we are into this capitalistic money-grabbing, money engagement on everything. So we are unable to release the money on time. Why? Because at some point, even when we have statutory periods, timelines, when money needs to be released, for example, to the county governments, nothing happens. Because money is then diverted.
Not because there is no money?
No.
That's what you're saying.
Kenya. I mean, what is our budget?
Because what other justification?
No, I'll ask you this. What is our budget?
Yeah.
Our budget right now, the previous budget was at 3.4 trillion, all right? 3.6. Now we are going to 4.2. The truth is, how much money are we giving the counties? 500 billion, 400 billion.
Only 389.
Exactly, 389. You want to tell me you can't remove 389 billion out of the 3.5 trillion? It's just because nobody cares in government, particularly in the treasury. They are unable because the executive is so strong. The executive is telling them, we are going to pay this one this time. Don't worry about what the law says anyway. All right? When everybody is talking about, let us start having a ward fund. Let us make sure we allow county governments and the assemblies to actually do their jobs. What do we do? And this, all our issues are related. The other day, you see somebody in Treasury, and of course I believe my colleagues in the National Assembly went and decided to increase our salaries. And I never asked for a salary increment. And yet the MCA is...
Who would complain about salary increment?
No, I am complaining. Because you can't give me what I didn't ask for.
A serious person should complain about an increase in salary.
Yes, why are you increasing my salary? Wait.
When are the suffering?
A member of the county assembly right now is earning 81,000. And you're making my salary 1 million? Don't you see that dysfunctionality?
Yeah.
At least they should have given the MCAs their money. And I'm not doing this for populism. It is not possible for a person who's at the village level, who's running my ward, to be given a salary of 81,000. He goes to funerals, he goes to weddings, he does. It's not possible. We are cheating ourselves. In other words, like you tie a goat around a tree. It goes around the tree with a rope. Yes. Then when it realizes it's being squeezed, it comes out of that rope. That's what we do. And yet we have this constitution that tells us, release the money at this time. Budget at this time. Manage your financials at this time. Don't get into debt excessively. We are now close, moving to about, what, 80%
I'm wondering how come, because when this regime took over, I mean, the debt issue was one of them.
They said they would never borrow any money.
Exactly.
They said they are not going to get into debt. Immediately they bought all the members of parliament and all of us, the senators. They now do what they want.
So I'm wondering how come we are in a debt issue again. Is it just slightly above 2 years into this administration?
But madam, the clarification that I want to make here.
Yeah.
And I told you that this debate, it's a very important debate. You know, we have to go back to where we came from. You know, when we were passing this law in Parliament, you know, this thing that you have raised, which is very important, this thing of saying that they are owed money, you know, we said that 15% of government revenue will go to the counties. It was not the maximum.
It was not less.
It was the starting point.
At least.
And I want you to understand the reason why that was happening. Even a small baby who has been born today, you cannot give him or her bonds to chew. The purpose which we had that time was that so that the structures can be in place.
Yes.
And the capacity.
Yes.
One of the things that we were thinking that we must get governors who are like angels is so that they can build capacity. And it is very easy. They should be able to recruit the right people. The public service board they are for them to be able to employ the kind of people they want. But if by now, you know, this is almost 15 years, if they build capacity, money will just go. In fact, by the way, that time, you remember, we were thinking, within the next 15, 20 years, the national government will not be dealing with money. This money was to increase gradually as you develop capacity.
At the counties.
At the counties,
yes.
But that has not happened.
So there's still over-reliance of, the counties really still over-relying?
No, but it is deliberate, because I've seen one of the counties where people would employ cashiers. How come? You know, let me tell you, this constitution was supposed to serve every Kenyan and to be fair to everybody. So employment, if there's employment opportunity, should be for everybody who qualifies. Do you know that there are some of the countries where they employ cashiers, governors employed cashiers for the purpose of voting? Once the election is gone, yes. and the governor loses the election, those workers, the new governor comes in with other people.
Yes.
Yeah. As if he has come from space. Those people belong to that county.
In fact, what Honorable Shanzua said, please allow me to add this point. We have taken the structure where we are supposed to create a public service for the county governments, which run whether the governor is there or not. We should have certain officers who create the continuum, so that even if the governor is going to political on his last year of the election, they are running the county. What happens? The governor comes in, the one who has won, he gets rid of all those public officers. He brings his uncles, cousins, nephews, and dumps them there. The job is for them to be told, can you make sure you raise money for the coming elections? So stealing galore begins. That's where we are.
You know, you could be having problems in this company. But this is the reason why I give credit to Macharia. Just look at yourself, the poor have been here. You know, you have heard some of our friends here, they left, but the place is still running.
Yes.
And this is the way it should be. When I was told to come here at 6:30, I came here and I found the place working. But to go to the counties, in fact, I discovered something again this week, my brother.
Yes.
There's a county, a big, very big one. The people start working at 4 o'clock.
In the afternoon.
And the governor has many that way.
No, and they only work. They only work when the treasury is receiving money from the treasury.
Seraphin,
that week when they are paid, money is paid, but 2 weeks later. After that, you'll see nobody in the offices.
Right. Osido, what are your thoughts?
you know, my thoughts about this is probably because one, we have weak governance systems. Now, these weak governance systems are not just for county governments. They also go up to the national government. And which is why, for example, the issues that my colleagues are talking about are vitu kwa ground, like they are happening.
This is a reality.
It's a reality. But then the question is, so what? Like, should it be the norm? Should it be how things are supposed to be done? What are we doing about it? So one of those things that I believe we must do, and probably this is my only regret for this early morning, that the chair of IGRTC has not arrived. Because then the international, the Intergovernmental Relations and Technical Committee has a lot of work. You hear him, Mheshimiwa Chanzu, talking about capacity. It is IGRTC that is supposed to be assessing capacities of even human resource for counties and recommending, mitigative measures, whether it's building their capacities, whether it's their training. And you imagine the number of, as we talk about resourcing for counties, the hefty lots of monies that go into benchmarking and moving from this country to the other, looking for good things. But those good things are never seen in our counties. So we must begin to think through what we must do to strengthen the systems of counties. Because the laws are there, Seraphin. The laws are there, but we are not supporting the laws in terms of either punitive measures. The preventive measures are not working. All these things we are talking about, every county government in this country has a controller of budget officer who is called a county budget coordinator, who either works directly with the county government or oversees a number of counties. How do we interlink between the internal audits of counties so that before these matters get to the Senate, is the governor suspending an officer? Is the governor sending away someone because you have been corrupted, or you have, there are allegations that you've stolen money? But what we see happening every day is that we cover. The more money you steal, the higher the coverage you are. Is EACC as an institution working closely with county governments to be able to support accountability? Look at last year's Gen Z and, of course, Kenya's clamor for transparency and accountability. Have we learned any lessons from that process? Have governors even learned anything? By the way, we are moving into our second biennial devolution conference, which will be happening in between 15th and 18th of August in Homa Bay. And if you look at the matters of the content of the discussion, very impressive topics. But then the question that you ask yourself is the so what? So we discuss these issues. And then what?
Compare it to the previous devolution.
Last year we had a devolution conference. What happened?
Is it progressive?
Are we learning certain things? And that is why, for me, the second issue beyond the weak governance systems is lessons that we are learning. We don't have to go to India. We don't have to go to Singapore. We don't have to even go to Uganda or even Tanzania. Now here is doing much more better with their Ujamaa than we are as Kenyans. Locally, our county governments have immense potential, capacity, and capability. But the politics of the day carry everything. And that's why Mheshimiwa Onyonka will say the governor comes and he fires everyone. It is not supposed to be like that.
Yeah.
No.
Because there has to be a PNP mechanism.
Yeah.
But Senator Onyonka, how possible is it? Because, you know, we exist in an environment where we've had that in politics you don't operate in a silo. You don't operate in a vacuum. Even before you're elected as governor, there is a lot of backroom conversations that go, negotiations. MCAs as well. I mean, before you're elected MCA,
yes.
there's a lot of discussions.
Even Senator Onyonka was also negotiating.
So how practical is it that you will actually sit and be in charge of that seat?
Before you come to me, let me just say something which I think I really want. I'm very happy with the senators now. But there's a big problem that we made with the first one. The first governance and the first Senate,
cohort.
The first cohort. I don't know. You know, we had a problem. The Senate, the first one, was supposed to legislate and put in place the structures, how the county government were going to work. But you know, they spent a lot of time having supremacy wars with Parliament. And then I think by the time they realized that, because you see, it is terrible that you say that you want to spend about more than 70% of money going to the counties on salaries. It is the other way around. You know, it should be development more and recurrent less. But it's the other way around because of what we have just said. And you know, that thing was not legislated. And I'm hoping, you know, when they were supposed to legislate that time, by the time they were thinking about it, I think somebody went to court. So the courts are also another issue. So they could not move. So right now we are moving. That's why I see sometimes somebody saying that, oh, you know, the Senate is not doing oversight. And then I say, what kind of oversight? If you look at the governors who have been impeached, like in Nairobi, it is a county assembly which was able to do. It is the one that works on day-to-day basis of acting on what, including voting. What the senators are only supposed to do is to make sure that the counties are functioning and they are in place. So that's. So
are you saying that Senate has also failed?
No, but that was from the beginning. We are saying we started wrongly. But I don't know whether they can be able to do it now because, you know.
But partly, yes. As
they failed.
Yeah, the Senate.
Let me tell you, because I'm in that Senate, I can tell you for sure, and I want to correct a small point that my leader, Honorable Shanzu, has raised. Honorable Shanzu, we did not understand what the roles were.
Then.
When we had the National Assembly, when you had the governors coming in, some of the individuals who were in the Naivasha talks, who were in the Kilifi talks, who were everywhere we were discussing the Constitution, they deliberately were expecting that for them, there were certain positions they were going to take, and these were including being governor. Many people actually didn't think. They thought a governor is going to be like a village, like a, what do you call it? Like a former county council mayor or chair. Many had not understood this. Once that was realized, and you notice, the first generation of all the governors, you're talking about Orengo, you're talking about Nairobi, the senator was who?
Kidero.
Kidero, if you look at all these people, everybody was positioning themselves because they want to be in a position where the money is. And that's the problem with our country. And this is what I've been saying. People believe that you are in public service because you're supposed to go and collect money for yourself, family, and friends.
True.
It has nothing to do with public service.
Yes.
So yes, we have been raising issues at the Senate. I can assure you that for me, my observation ever since I joined the Senate, we have actually performed better. We have held the government to account. We have discussed public issues to that extent. Now, Kenyans expect me, once I raise an issue about corruption in an area, then I go and look for somebody, get handcuffs, go and pick my governor, put him in. That's not my job. My job is to say, this is what I have discovered. Now I hand it over to another institution. That institution should be either DCI or EACC.
So are they the ones who have failed us then?
All our systems,
really
my observation, all our systems of good governance, prudent management of resources, value for money, all those things, they are all broken. Nobody observes the PFM Act.
True.
Sub-county governments, there's a law which says you cannot hold impress more than 30 days, in fact, 15 days. Now we have books coming in where county governments, where members of the county governments who are either the CECs or chief officers have got impress which has lasted 2 years.
All right. Back to my question, though. One would argue that all this is happening because you are not actually really in charge of that position as a governor or as an MCA, because of how you actually ended up there, because of the politics that usually play around, somebody becoming, elected in the counties. Do we have that as also a problem that we should be looking at?
What is difficult with a governor just governing, making sure you use the money prudently, allow your workers to be comfortable, make sure you have,
how you are elected,
make sure you have, no, election in Kenya, whether you are elected fraudulently or not, whether you stole the elections or not, you are elected.
Yeah, true.
So the responsibility is for you to govern. And we are asking...
Serafina, what Senator is not telling you is that there is a place of politics in governance, particularly for the counties.
That's also something we need to look at.
That is a reality. Yeah. And there are places in this country, for example, where that politics have also denied services to certain people because they didn't vote for the governor.
Exactly.
But now that is just the low-lying level. The executive politics is being played at the executive, which revolves around the political party, owners of those political parties, money in politics and political parties, and ultimately the nomination. You know, there are certain areas in this country where the nomination of the political party is actually the election. So you work so hard to get the nomination certificate, like where I come from. Sisi tukisha piga ile nomination, whether it is UDA or ODM,
Imeisha.
So whatever you do between nomination and the day of the election.
He has brought a fantastic point. One other thing I've noticed, Mheshimiwa Chanzu, what ideology do we believe in Kenya?
Yeah.
Are we social democrats? Are we capitalists? Are we
conservative?
What are we? We are nothings. We are just kleptomaniacs who are interested in accumulating resources, live in houses which are 15 bedrooms, make sure you have got 19 cars running over the place, take your children to the schools in Europe and everything. When you have a headache, fly to Dubai. That's where we are.
So
that's where we are.
Before Mheshimiwa put a comma into my submission, so that we must therefore distinguish between the politics and governance of running a county and a country. You can't be campaigning for 5 years.
Yes.
The moment you have already sworn, please go and serve your people. The things you said that you would do, go and do them. But the problem that we have in this country is MCA is campaigning every day, day and night. He mentioned funerals and weddings.
Yes.
The governor is campaigning day in, day out. The president is campaigning day in, day out. It is not supposed to be that way. Because one time I met a member of parliament in one of these private hospitals. I'd gone to visit a friend of mine who was admitted. And so as he was walking out, I was walking in, and he was carrying a white paper and shaking his head. So I approached him and I said, Mheshimiwa, how are you? Habari ya masiku? He said, no, Kevin, this cannot be happening. Look at all this money. Now I have to pay for my relative who has been... And I asked him, but sir, when you are at the apex of appropriation of resources for healthcare, what did you do? The moment you have already been elected, please serve your people. The bad manners of MCAs moving from, let me use Mathare, for example, a small house in Mathare, and you have been living there for many years, those guys have trusted you, they have elected you. Then the moment umekula Biblia, katika county assembly, unahama, unaenda Kileleshwa, unaenda wapi. That should stop, so that when it rains and the roads are not working, you see them. And the same should apply to the governors, even to the chief officers, to the directors, to the CECs that are appointed and all that. Yeah. Because if we do it that way, then this clamor about money and how much you are getting will stop, because you get to a level where people can come to your gate and say, Mheshimiwa Governor Kevin Osido wa Siaya, barabara ni mbaya. Please, Los Nwandarani, it is not working and we can't continue like this.
Madam, campaigning, the point my brother is raising, it's a very interesting one. And it makes me think a lot. I think a lot now. Yeah. I just want you to visualize something. I don't know that you can. Somebody is a councillor in, Nairobi here. You don't even need to have a lot of, you don't even need to bribe people. But you need a lot of money to be a governor in Nairobi here. Whatever you do, somebody is a councillor here and becomes a governor here. Or a similar county. Are you visualizing that?
Yes. We have a living story.
Somebody.
We have an MCA who is a governor who is a former MCA of Nairobi.
Are you seeing that?
Yeah.
Now, there is something I wanted to tell you. When I moved out, you know this thing of being MP or being senator like he is, this thing of having to wake up and run back to your people. You know, it makes you, every Thursday, we are thinking about how to go.
You're planning to rush to the village.
Now, even there's a time, because I was a grassroots person, like I told you, brought up in the village.
Yeah.
But until some people said that this guy, every time he's in the backyard of people's homes, why can't he be in Nairobi? Now, when I moved around here, when I went to places like Kirinyaga and so on, because of the job that I have now, I'm telling you, Mheshimiwa, I've learned a lot. And I asked myself, and I asked my guru when she was the chair lady of this, chairman of this Council of Governors. When you go for meetings, for accountability, why don't you formulate your agenda so that when you start with prayers, then you do apologies, etc. Why don't you have just an item for every governor, just to say that the money I received last time,
I did this.
You don't have to, you have got different clothes. We've got different clothes. But just to say that me, I bought a dress and this. Do you know what I discovered? She whispered to me that, how can you do that? And the same guys who are supposed to elect me to be the chairman of the Council of Governors, so you can't ask for accountability. Now, there is a ministry, I think, was created of devolution.
Yeah.
Now, that ministry...
It's a state office now.
A friend of mine was a minister there before. Now, when they go to the county government, you know the way the ministers come from here. They want to be received in a big way.
I can guess your friend.
The governors have to receive them. The moment somebody is received like that, the Kenyan way, in a big way.
Mheshimiwa.
You can't start asking them.
But Seraphine, is because we have not had a successful prosecution of governors or AI holders who are not accountable. In fact, I'm very excited about the Kiambu County story, the Governor Waititu case, because we are hoping that we will be able to have a precedent of running counties, because it cannot be that you are a governor who is accused of embezzling county funds and the case is going on for 12 years. You run for office and EACC, despite alive cases of corruption, clears you and you still run and you're elected. And by the way, what we also see with the citizens, Mheshimiwa, honorable members.
And actually, if you run after such a case, you're
even more popular.
Even more popular. In fact, when you are taken to Ukipelekwa integrity, they mobilize and say, you have arrested our thief. Get our thief out of that place. Citizens also must learn that if we fail to strengthen devolution or accountability at that level, it is us who are going to suffer.
And it is in this country that we have seen county headquarters burning down during an active corruption case, which is under investigation. So mysteriously, utasikia county offices ziliungua. You wonder why at this particular time. But I want to shift gears kidogo as we just, also talk about something that has been quite a debate, and that is the fourth generation formula. And we even had, the governors there talking about how they are going to aggressively reject this particular formula. Senators also had their own grievances with this. And Mheshimiwa Onyonka, I'd like to hear your thoughts about what are some of the contentious issues about this fourth generation formula that are concerning to you as senators, and even if you come from the context of what the governors have raised, that doesn't seem to be taking us anywhere.
Somebody is trying to come up with this policy. Remember this argument about one man, one vote, and making sure that certain areas, I'll give you an example that we commonly use, and it is a very legitimate concern. You're talking about Kiambu County, which has got 2 million voters. And you're talking about what are we supposed to do to make sure that Kiambu gets a soft landing without disenfranchising some of the counties. Because you see, we don't want, like now, as the governor of Kisii County, there's no way you're going to tell me that I'm going to give you the fourth generation formula on how you're going to calculate the shareable revenue, and Kisii County is going to lose 200 million. I'll not agree. Start from where we lose nothing. Now figure out how you correct the historical injustices or how you correct the mistakes which have taken place before. I mean, I'll give you an example. One of the arguments that was laid out, very genuinely, there are members of the Senate, members of the National Assembly. Most of them are either from Nairobi, Kiambu, within the neighborhood. We who come from distances, Siaya, Kisii, Homa Bay, all right, because like a section of Kisii, which is South Mugirango, is literally near Migori. Yeah. All right, I'm given my mileage. It makes sense for you to give mileage to the people of Nairobi, yes, but you can rationalize it. You can rationalize it. This argument that somebody goes and sits down and decides, no, now we are going to agree that the amount of money we are going to do, because certain areas looked like they received less in the last financial, but given the calculation we did last time, or the last financial year, then they want to change it and make sure that my county loses money. Now, what we are saying, I don't care what the formula is. The money that we were allocated this year, I don't want you to remove it. Now, figure out how you're going to increase for those who you want to increase. And make sure you increase for them without disenfranchising me. Yeah, because the law is very simple. In other words, the scenario that we have in our country, and this is what pains me, over a long period of time, there are people who should be doing things to make sure that we fix the problems and challenges of the country. There are those people, in fact, that is why the successful countries of the world, whether it's Singapore, whether it is Malaysia, you have technical expertise, individuals who are going to be hired professionally, make sure that they are remunerated well. Their job is to make sure that they handle policy and implementation of these policies. What we should be doing as politicians is basically to whip the public to agree with whatever policy the government has come and say, listen, or the county government for that matter, we are going to do this in agriculture. The reason is these are the arguments we're making. We are going to do this in fishing. The reason is the arguments we're making this. We are going to do our roads this way. Yeah. I mean, but you see what has happened. Kenyans have refused to grow. We have refused to grow from spending 80, 100 million shillings doing Maram roads in our constituency. And yet we know very well that to do a tarmac road right now, which is low volume, is going to cost you 30 million. So if you had 100 million, you would actually be doing 5 kilometers of tarmac road. But we keep doing Maram roads. Why? Because that's where...
Somebody knows that.
That's where we eat the money. That's where we sell the roads to our friends. And wives and friends and... Am I lying?
You know what, madam?
That's where the money is shared.
Can I tell you something? Why that thing of the road is a very interesting one. You know a road, if you do a road now, and then it rains, the same day, this Maram road, you know there's no way you can audit.
Because it rains.
You have to do it again.
But you see, if you did a tarmac road, it is going to take you maybe, if it is done well, and today there is technology actually to do cheaper things.
Yes.
But we don't do cheaper things. Do you know there's an issue that arose, and I must say it here, because my brother has raised it. You know this Mbagathi way, when it was done, you know it's 6 kilometers.
By Raila.
There are 3 kilometers one side, but not because of Raila. Because
he was the minister for roads at
but there were engineers.
Yes.
Just like here. Like I said, I'm very happy with this station, you guys here. Not because you are nice looking. But you see, the way things are running, let me tell you, Macharia could be sleeping. But the thing is, he has made sure that the system, he has set free you guys to be able to operate. This road it cost 480 million. That time, 2003?
Yes.
And the cement companies and so on, they had said, because when Kibaki came in, there was a lot of goodwill. They were going to contribute cement and so on, but it still cost 480 million. That is 3 kilometers and 3. That is 80 kilometers per 80 million shilling per kilometer. When I raised the issue about Kisumu to Kakamega, which had a lot of potholes, Macharia, our friend, the late, he answered, he was as a minister in roads, and he said, we have put 100 million for 55 kilometers. So I asked him, how can you do that? And he said, oh no, we are going just to do some kind of patch up, but we are going to get World Bank to raise money to pay. Okay, we didn't ask for how much it spent. It was spent, but I think that's what helped the road to be done up to Kitale, out of that issue. But I think it made them think. So this is what we are lacking. We are lacking that kind of issue in the counties, where when the governor says that they have not been given money. In fact, for me, what I would have liked, I don't have anything against any governor, but there are things that are painful when I see Kenyans suffering. And what we intended when we were in...
Yeah.
What we intended is like, you yourself, you are here, you are the boss in this room, you leave chakula here for these guys. Then you hear one of them come and cry that I didn't get.
Not eaten.
You see, that's what we are suffering from in Kenya. So you can imagine, if we had that kind of accountability where people can be able to compare. You see, the people, when you become a minister or you become a PS, you are not an angel. They must be able to listen to advice. When you become a governor, there's no standard measure of who should be a governor.
Even education doesn't matter anymore.
Anyone can. But
so,
we still need to vet.
I just wanted to weigh in on the formula.
Yes.
And sometimes I think that...
And as you do that, also comment on the rationalization that Mheshimiwa talked about.
Precisely.
Is it possible to really reach a formula that will make everybody feel satisfied? Or must we always have a list of losers and gainers? Because we've never agreed on
one of the things,
before.
Yeah, one of the things which is a fact is that there will always be winners and there will be losers. The most important thing, especially for a country like Kenya, where we have also experienced in certain parts, this perennial marginalization is what you do to the losers. And the beauty, again, of how our constitution was structured is that even for the losers, you have a mechanism that is called the Equalization Fund. Yeah. So part of what the Equalization Fund is supposed to help counties that do not get to the level of the example that Mheshimiwa was giving. Because again, another fact is that not all the counties are equal in number of population, which is one of the factors that CRA actually is using as a basis for the formula. Now, what we do with this population that is calling disenfranchised is the most important thing. Remember that even as we talk about Equalization Fund, because now we have the three sources of funding, the Equalization Fund, we have equitable share, they are at least 15%, then we have grants. How we play our politics, because for me what I see, and CRA has basically done what the Constitution expects the Commission to do, which is to propose a formula. They are not saying you must use this formula. They're just saying, this is our proposal. And our proposal is covering, as they continue to progressively look at a number of issues, including how devolution is being run, they are saying health is an important parameter. Now, we began this segment and I was saying, have we been able to effectively audit functions, for example, health?
Yes.
So that when CRA uses health as a parameter, what exactly under health are they talking about?
Yes.
Number two is agriculture. And for this fourth basis, they've actually gone further and they're also looking at livestock and fisheries. Because fact of the matter is, there are many parts of this country where there are no lakes. In fact, there are even no rivers. But they are just saying agriculture, which now, because of blue economy conversations and these big conferences that Kenya has been hosting, including climate change and the scientific one that is now ongoing at the UN, we are going to lump livestock, fisheries, and all these things under agriculture. CRA is saying, we are going to look at roads. But have we really audited, for example, levels of roads in this country? Yeah. One of the biggest sources of stalemate between Council of Governors and Parliament, largely
is
National
the listing
Assembly,
of the roads.
Is a listing of roads. So road maintenance levy fund. So what is this thing about roads that CRA is talking about? When you talk about water, and water is devolved, but you still have a Ministry of Water, the national government, that also accrues a budget, Serafin. And so I can go on and on and on, including education, poverty levels, land area, population, which Mheshimiwa Onyonka spoke about, and then the basic share. But that not being enough, the counties have also not helped themselves. And in my view, engaging with county governments, there is this very big potential that counties have called the on-source revenue. But you don't see a lot of conversations, even despite the works that have been done by institutions like CRA and County Governance Watch and others have played part in terms of doing induction sessions and even research work on what counties' potential are to be able to raise their own revenue. So this over-reliance on national government, there must be a point when we will be saying, by there as county governments, we can raise our own monies
and run our
own affairs internally without this over-reliance on, oh, we have not been given 63 billion.
So we will shut down.
Yeah, so we shut down. That should not be the issue because when you're a governor, the citizens expect that, as Mheshimiwa Chanzu was saying, they are angels, that you have answers to everything.
But where are we at in terms of the generation of how many counties, you know?
Could I
let Mwesh go first, then I can come.
Let me help you.
Yeah?
Who collects our revenue? It's Kenya Revenue Authority, which is an institution that has been mandated by the laws we've passed for them to collect the revenue. They collect the revenue, then they hand it over to the Consolidated Fund for the budget to be implemented. Go and get any governor and talk to him or her and tell her, you know what, yes, could you please agree that for your own source revenue, we allow KRA to collect? Because KRA is collecting money at the national level.
Yes. Yeah.
They are not infringing on your right. In fact, all you need to do is bring in KRA, even if you want them to become like the experts. In other words, they are the outfit that is going to tell you that, you see, the valuation rolls you have, the properties that you have in your county, the data that you're collecting. For example, what Irungu Kangata has done in Murang'a. Last year, his collectible revenue was 210 million. Once he set up the system, he is now, of course, he's not using KRA, but he brought in a system that was open and transparent, and he's able now to talk about, he's collecting about 1.5 billion shillings after 1 year. Why is that difficult to do?
Yes.
Because we collect the revenue in cash. You see, an African wants the money in cash. They don't want it in systems. They don't want it to be. They don't want it to be audited for.
Right.
That is the ATM machine.
I know of a situation, madam.
As I'm about to sample feedback, Mheshimiwa Chanzu.
I know of a situation whereby those people who collect, they'll go to the governor's house in the evening,
carrying money in bags.
To say each one of them. To say,
so it's not, including digitalization is being fought.
It's deliberately, it breaks down after 1 week.
Including even the senior officers. You know, it is so painful. At least for me and him, who have seen this thing, and we are still here. It's so painful to see what is going on. Do you know that in this country there is no child who should not be able to go to school with the amount of money that goes to the counties and the constituencies? You know what I'm thinking, I want to suggest to Mheshimiwa Nyonka, because they are in the Senate and Parliament, it is high time that we looked at the Constitution afresh now. You know this thing they call public participation?
I agree.
You know public participation, that's a populist thing where we as MPs and so on go to the villages. You gather a lot of people, you spend money there. But the views they make there, they don't change anything that you are going to do in Parliament or in the Senate. And that's how the law was done. Can you imagine all those people in the villages who come and say that we want this to be done here, but when they go to... So I was in a meeting organized by these accountants in Mombasa. And some of them were saying, they were saying that this pack. It was a very good meeting, by the way. I think you need to attend meetings like those.
I gave the keynote address.
I'm telling you, that meeting...
I gave the keynote address.
You know, they're standing there. Somebody stands up, they work there, they're saying that, you know me, we have been able to do public participation. They have been giving views. I told them, next time when we are changing constitution, because I want to recommend that, when you come to give views, please come and give views. Don't say that because so and so has read it. That is all. Come and give views. Because there is a lot that needs to be done. When Nyayo left power, that was 2002, our budget was 386 billion. Today we are on 4 trillion. Can you imagine? So I'm thinking that it is high time, and I'm very happy. I'm very happy that your station you're able to come up with these programs and come up with many more.
We will. Let's
because
also hear.
That's the only way you are going to help these Kenyans. Because you see, to rely on the elected leaders,
you'll be cheating yourself.
Yeah.
You are cheating. Do you know that some of the MPs, they steal money which is supposed to be educate children for CDF, and then they come and give the electorate on the eve of election 50, 100 bob, and then they are voted, and that is all. They can't even speak in parliament. The time is in parliament. If he stands up in parliament, because he has to go in parliament to sign in to be paid an allowance, the time he stands in parliament is the time when he's going to the toilet. So we need...
I want us to sample what our viewers
They are going to kill you
on social media.
No, but what can we do? That's why we are here.
Yeah. Let's listen to what Kenyans are also saying on social media with regards to the conversation we've been having, talking about the state of counties. And a lot has been said, from the governance to the quagmire in the funding. Let's just bring those up to hear what you have been saying on Twitter. This is the X platform. All right. That should be up shortly. And of course, we have been talking about the fourth basis formula for sharing revenue. And I believe we have that now. Do we have the feedback so that we can be able to sample what our viewers are saying? At Citizen TV Kenya is where we invited you to be able to engage us. At Babu Michael KE, you say the unfortunate part of this county wrangles is that there must be some funds behind them in whichever manner or political motives. There can't be proper development when such tug of wars continue. All about personal interest, sadly. That's Babu Michael.
That's true.
Sir Nixon Dugire, you're saying if counties eliminate corruption, mismanagement and embezzlement of public funds and then embrace work ethics and professionalism, county governments can truly uplift our lives. Tutaenda mbali, yeah? Remy Butia, you're saying Kenya's counties remain pivotal to achieving inclusive growth, while devolution has strengthened local governance, sustained reforms in financing, accountability and equity are essential to fully realize its potential. All right, we have Frank Orinde. At Frank Orinde, you're saying the devolution dream is turning into a nightmare. Mismanagement and rampant corruption are the norm. Ghost projects, stalled development, and bloated wage bills.
Yes.
Some counties like Nyamira are shockingly operating 2 parallel county assemblies. Who is auditing this madness? That's a pivotal question there. We have Bob Otieno Owino saying poor implementation of the Constitution of Kenya, which we promulgated in 2010, has given MCAs leeway to hold governors hostage, demanding bribes in order to allow them to govern peacefully, as we're currently witnessing in Machakos and Nyamira County. All right, Bob Otieno Owino. Gentlemen, you've seen those sentiments by Kenyans. Just a few that we could sample now, and thank you if you created time to share with us your thoughts. I'd just like to give you a final round of your remarks. In terms of, there's somebody who's suggesting that devolution has turned into a nightmare. I don't want us to end on that note. How do we change the devolution story going forward? I'll start with you, Mheshimiwa Chanzu. Let's close this.
Yeah, I think what we have contributed here, maybe with the limited time, we are saying that it's high time. I'm still going back to those who were involved in the writing of the Constitution, the late Damba Gitonga. Oh, by the way, before I go on, I think excitement is a bad thing sometimes. I just wanted to say, Pole, we lost one of our colleagues, John Koech, who was MP for in Chapalungu, and he was also minister. In fact, when he was minister for public works and roads, I was chief constable in the Ministry of Works. So we are saying Pole to the family and the people of Chapalungu and Kenyans as a whole. Now I'm saying it is high time that Mheshimiwa Nyonga and the team, with the good job that you guys are doing in legislation, that we look at looking at this constitution, the way it was suggested by Damba Gitonga, who was the chairman of the late also, for which we are sorry. He suggested that after 10 years, it should be good time for us to look at the Constitution. It is a very good idea. If you go to other countries, which are growing, like if you go to China today, go to those countries and see the way things are working. I think they can work better here.
All right.
Yeah, there are many cities, and you are able to move like 2.5 years ago, I was at an invitation under the Chinese government, and I went to a place called Changsha with a population of 12 million people. And you wake up in the morning, and you're able to reach where you want to go in 15 minutes or 20 minutes, 30, 50 minutes. So I think it's high time that we looked at the Constitution afresh again so that we can set better standards than what we thought.
All right, thank you so much. Osido?
Thank you so much, Serafin. So mine is basically I must underscore the fact that Kenya is a really interesting story, but that devolution is even a much more better and interesting story. So for us to be able to bring this story, this very interesting story, home to the people, one, we must strengthen accountability at the counties. And this is both internal, because all county governments have mechanisms of accountability internally and also externally. So citizen oversight, the Senate must be brought on board. The county assemblies must do their work given to them by the Constitution. Representation, oversight, and of course legislation. Number two is that we must, county governments must come to the realization that on-source revenue is the next big thing.
All right.
About 10 or 15 or so counties have tried to do something about their own-source revenue.
Out of 47.
Out of 47, which is still not very good. Number three, the national government fully devolved functions.
All right.
If we can be able to ensure that we fully devolve these functions, I'm sure that this duplicity and over-concentration in national government will be dealt with. Then the final thing is, please pay your pending bills. We have businessmen and women enterprises that are shutting down across the country, having done business with both national and county governments. And so we must also do something about how we, a mechanism, a framework, to be able to pay these bills.
Thank you, Sido.
Serafin, let me just regret that IGRTC chair didn't get it here. But we also must strengthen intergovernmental relations between national government and the county government.
Onyonke?
Thank you.
I just want to say that I've been very lucky to observe what is happening for the simple reason that, you see, when you're an MP and you shift over and become a senator, you understand a lot of things. We have an incredibly good country, but we've refused to fix it.
Yeah.
We have refused to accept that we have challenges and we can fix the country, we can actually change some of the things which we are doing.
All right.
I pray and hope that as we keep going, that people of good faith are actually going to sit down and say, like you've said, for me, 100%, we now need a Constituent Assembly to really look. I mean, look at Chapter 6. We diluted Chapter 6 after Uhuru and the president were taken to The Hague. Why? Because logically, and it made sense, that you can't prosecute me and find me guilty once I have not gone through the normal processes, so let me be prosecuted. And yet, in reality, that opened a hole where I can do whatever that I want, even when I'm taken to court and the case is running, I can't even step aside. The reality is, automatically, you then begin now to fight back so that, I mean, there are so many issues with the judiciary. There are so many issues with the financials. There are so many issues with the social welfare. I mean, why are we, I can't explain it. I've tried to get somebody to give me the logic. We have 630 billion shillings, which is in the Ministry of Education. And we can't give our children free education from kindergarten to university.
Yes.
We only did 250B.
Yeah.
It's because this money is what we are putting into bursaries, MCA takes, MP takes, Senator takes, Women Rep takes, Governor takes, the President takes, his friend.
Richard Onyonka, thank you so much, Senator for Kisii County, raising very passionate questions as we wind up this particular conversation. Of course, we should be picking up in the near future. Kevin Osido, also I've been engaging him. He's the Executive Director, County Governance Watch. Also this morning with us was Mheshimiwa Yusuf Chanzu, former Member of Parliament, Vihiga. Asante sana for creating time, gentlemen. That's how we wrap it up.
The Chairman, National Housing Corporation.
Yeah, Chairman, National Housing Corporation.
Yes.
Asante sana for that. That's how we wrap
Next
it up.
time I want to talk about
we are going to be shifting.
I want to talk about housing.
Which housing, Yusuf?
Look at that.
Affordable or any other housing?
Which crossing over, gentlemen, allow me to do this. We are crossing over to the health segment shortly. Do stay with us.